Recording in progress. So I've been interviewing a lot of people this week and last week. Yeah, I guess last week. Like way too many, but it's great. It's been a lot of fun. Somehow TikTok, I've not searched anything because what would I be searching? But TikTok somehow has picked up that I'm doing this. And so I found that this account found me. I did not find this account. But there's these two comedians and they're conducting this hours long interview. At least that's what you feel like, because their clothes never change. They're on the left and right side. And it's the most ridiculous like setup. Like, why do you want to work here? And it's like money. And they goes over like the of course, like, well, you want more than money, it's why you're working here. It's like you want to like make a difference and all these things like this. And then the person being interviewed always spins it around. I was like, well, why are you hiring me? It's like, well, we need to have more money. We need you to make more revenue. And it's like, oh. So there's all these like gotcha moments in this. Absolutely hilarious. I'm addicted, but I'm amazed. I'm like, how is this so creepy? Like, what did I do that the algorithm like found me? That like, hey, this is so timely in your life right now. You'll get addicted to watching these videos. And I've sent them probably like 20 people. So apologies if I have sent you these videos of these guys. I think it's
Do you have
hilarious.
your email and your Slack on your phone?
Yeah, I got everything
TikTok's probably
everywhere.
reading it.
It's reading it. Oh shoot,
It's TikTok. That's why
it's
I don't
reading
have
it.
TikTok on my phone.
It's
Yeah, I
reading.
deleted it.
Oh, well, look,
You're
you're welcome.
welcome.
Then
It's fun.
I'll be the sacrificial lamb as
Thank
far
you.
as getting the good content and send it to everybody. What else? Is there anything you guys want me to get for you through the algorithm? I could like whatever you're
No,
into.
I think those
You
like
get
business ones are super funny because you're like, oh, these are the things everyone wants to say, obviously, and they really
yeah.
hit home with their relevance and usually obviously the hilarity of the situation. So the one Andrew sent us, everyone watching, it was also about like, how can I bring my pet? My support
Oh,
pet has a pet, and then my support pet has a pet. He's trying
it's
to
like
argue bringing his three pets in the
it's hilarious. He's like
board.
making his personal problems like a business problem, and he's like completely serious with it. It's amazing. I think it's
have
great.
you guys ever watched Noodles,
Mm-mm.
the
No.
dog on Instagram? Look up
Oh,
Noodles, the dog on
Noodles Instagram.
Instagram,
Okay.
Is it the
and then
fluffy
thank me
Pomeranian?
later.
Is it a pooch? Noodles the pooch. So
Yes,
okay, I pulled it
yeah.
up here.
Thank me later.
The people on the listening to the
Cullen
podcast
is
right now
obsessed
are
with
like,
We're
her.
like,
where is this
you know
going?
what it probably sounds like? Then we'll go to something real. It sounds like your grandmother came over to your house over Christmas and they're telling you about all the videos that they see on Facebook. And you're like, yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah, cool, grandma. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Hour later, you get another one. There's like 30
You
stories of
know
this
what?
video.
I'll
Welcome.
I'll I'll spin that too. And
Oh, let's go.
sometimes in our Slack channel, we'll say, "Oh my gosh, did you see the builder who did this funny thing?" Like they hit a
Yeah.
Grinch in their house, and it was just like the Grinch was
That was funny.
grinching and doing, and it's just that fun, shareable content that kind of gets you out of your just the typical bubble of, okay, we had these standard floor plan videos. Okay, now we can do the Grinch. Now, and I love the creativity that can creep in because
Yeah,
I think that
agreed.
also some builders are just like, oh, we have to stay at this brand level. We can't do anything silly or fun. And then some builders who are like, no, that is who we are. And we are personal and we have these personal fun stories and
That's perfect.
relationships. I think it's
That's
I
like
think
the
it's
segue
more
into
brand.
like kind of, well, we'll get started in a second, but all the videos that are worth mentioning in real life, like
Mhm.
there's a common theme. They're not boring.
They're not
Usually, at least for me, they're humor based. They're of interest. And so we look at like our builder videos. First, like we kind of have to go like, should we create content that is even of interest to talk about like this? Like, does it make sense to even try to do that? Or is that like, well, no, like you can like just like you can't even out your lead volume over the course of the year because it's going to up and down seasonality. So you don't
Mhm.
try to resist it because like what's the point? Like it's going to happen. Lead volume is going to fluctuate. So like, do we even try to produce video content as a builder that is discussable or shareable, like we just talked about here?
Mhm.
Yes or no? Like it might be a waste of time. Like why do that? But we could. I guess the point is like we could create better content, more interesting video that's on brand. But I think it might feel kind of unsafe for a little bit. Because like, ooh, this isn't what we normally do.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about it because what you normally do, you're probably not happy with, or there's something like some type of discomfort. You're like, let's change, let's make it better, let's make it better. So
Yeah, that's funny. I was talking to someone else about this the other day. You kind of had mentioned that as a marketer, it feels uncomfortable, and being uncomfortable is a sign of growth too. So
yeah,
getting outside of your box and trying something and seeing how well it goes, I think is always it's going to be a challenge, and it just go into it knowing that this is supposed to make you uncomfortable, not the video itself. Please understand where we're going with this, but going outside of your comfort zone of who you are
Yeah.
as a brand can sometimes be scary, but sometimes worth the experiment and trying new things. So
Definitely.
I think that's what it
But
is.
also,
Just leaning
don't
into
go
trying
too
new
far.
things.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you are a high-end luxury brand or like, you build predominantly high-end luxury homes, like silly, goofy videos, that's not going to really resonate with your audience.
Right.
And also it's too far. Like, brand continuity is still important within the whatever messaging you put out there. So, like, try something different, but stay within your voice and within like what will actually speak to your demographic. So, like,
Agreed.
but make the content. I think that's the point, is like, get out of your comfort zone and make the content.
Yeah.
Just make sure it's aligned.
I want to see who does it, because every even like the high-end luxury builder does not need to have a documentary for their home. Like that's boring, right? But we're serious.
Yeah.
Our clients have no humor. Like that's
Yep.
not true. Like they're fun people just as much as everyone is. Just finding the right type of humor, the right type of thing to make it interesting, I think is the challenge. So, well, let's
Cardinal
get started.
Crest does it.
Yeah. Who does it?
Search Cardinal Crest,
Cardinal
Kansas
Crest.
City. They'll do some silly
There we go.
videos. Like,
Okay.
they'll have some fun with it.
Cardinal Crest.
Out of Kansas City. Yeah.
Kansas
Beautiful high-end homes. And some of their videos are a little too far for me at times, but are like too industry related.
Oh,
Do
gotcha.
you know what I mean? Where
Like-
it's not
like
really
we get
like
it, but
customer
they don't.
facing content.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have something about that.
Do you
later.
know what
Yeah.
I mean? Yeah.
Mhm.
And that stuff's whatever, but like they do have fun with their brand, but it's not too far out of the pocket where it's like doesn't seem aligned with who they are.
Mhm.
Agreed. Last thing on videos, Harmon Brothers are y'all familiar with that group? They created the Squatty Potty video, right, with the unicorn pooping, the ice cream, the rainbow ice cream. We're not talking about, we're all marketers
I
here. We
love
should
that it
all
went
know
in this
Harmon Brothers,
direction.
right? I would love to see a builder. I know they're expensive, but the purple mattress with like the egg. Remember that a while ago? And Squatty Potty, that's like the most famous one. But interesting what they would do for home building if a larger builder had a budget to work with them. It would definitely be humor based. So I'd assume it'd be like, to steal it from Quint Lear's, like the toenails in the carpet. Like that's a strong angle. Like you're getting a used home and it's like this nightmare of like, you're looking at the carpet, you're looking at that, you're looking at this, you're like, oh my gosh, you're just being like swallowed by like other people's for 30, 40 years. They're living there.
Ooh.
Sounds gross, but like they could lean on that, or you get this nice shiny new home. Okay, well, let's get started. Welcome to episode 318. I'm the ad doctor, Andrew Peak, and with me today is Beth Russell and Jackie Lipinski.
Hello.
We are here.
Hello.
We are here.
I almost said good morning.
Good morning.
Let's
It's
just
one of those
not.
days. It is one of those days. Beth, why don't you go first? Quick little story time.
Oh, it's story time. Mine is short and brief. And it's kind of a tease. I feel like that Instagrammer that's like, I have an announcement coming. You know what I mean? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Everyone's been asking me.
My DMs are flooded.
A super secret project, like that. If you ever watch Hayden on Instagram, he just made fun of this and it was hilarious. But yeah, so we have an announcement coming later on our All Access group. And I'm just super excited about it because it's something that is built by marketers for marketers. And it's around a topic that is typically reserved for, in our industry, for sales.
Is this really cool vacations if we do our job?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Ooh, spicy.
First class.
Ooh, okay.
Commissions? What? No.
What? Commissions? I mean, just kidding.
Andrew throwing some spice on it. I love
know,
it.
That one, I roll my eyes at that. Just
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people listening like understand the intent of what I'm trying to say there. Oh well, so it's not that. It's not vacation. It's not like trips to Bahamas or
No.
anywhere like that. Okay, good.
No.
It's better than that.
Yeah.
Much
So
better.
tune into All Access.
Okay.
All our marketers.
So be on All Access, and I think if you get the app, it's so much easier to stay up to
I
date
like
on
the
it.
app.
For
Mhm.
sure. Definitely get the app. Jackie, you want to go with your story? Or you want me to go real quick?
Yeah, I can go. I think
Let's
it
go.
kind of relates to what we were talking about
Mhm.
slightly. So I have a 3-year-old and I watch a lot of Bluey
Oh.
and I love
So
Bluey.
good.
Yeah, if anyone has to watch
Something.
anything, Bluey's the way to go. So the other day, the episode of Born Yesterday was on. And the summary of the episode is the dad's pretending he was born yesterday, and the kids have to re-show him and helping him understand what he sees and what he's looking at. And he just gets, at the end, he kind of is like remembering the day and reliving the experience. He's like, wow, I really do need to like rewind, kind of look at it with fresh eyes, and the world has a lot to offer. And so that kind of reminded me of, even this week, I play this game sometimes with marketers where I go, okay, if I'm a buyer, my memory is wiped. I'm not a home builder marketer. I'm a first time buyer and I'm coming to your website. How would I navigate this? And then I'm like purposely trying to get confused, where I'm like, where would I stumble? What would I like to see? And I know we recommend user testing, where people actually hire people to do that, and we'll watch videos and assign people who they pay to do user testing. Like, okay, go buy a house in this price range. Go do this. Where do you stumble?
Yeah.
So if a lot of builders are like, oh, I don't know if I have enough to do user testing, but maybe play that game of pretend you were born yesterday. Look at your website, pretend you're a new home buyer. How would they navigate your website? Where do they fumble, and what might they look at? And then also go to competitors or other builders throughout the nation and see how their navigation is too. Because we just had another builder and I was like, where are your filters? And we're like, oh my gosh, we had filters on the available homes, this is that page, but on the community page, somehow it had gotten past that. Filters were just gone. And so she's like, oh, okay, I don't know how that happened. We're gonna fix it. So sometimes rewinding your memory, pretending you're new, re-navigating through your website, because remember, it is the model home that is digital and how people get all the information about your homes and availability. And especially starting at the new year would be a fun project to do. Or if you get a new teammate, have them navigate through the website, because we see it
that's good too.
all the time. And we kind of have blinders on of brand blindness, and we know how to navigate. So pretend you're born yesterday, play with your website, and see where you get stuck would be
we have a lot of industry speak. We don't really realize it. Like things that like quick move-in homes, available homes.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the same thing. Like that's quicker to move in homes, whatever it may be. Like I think that's confusing. A lot of the user testing, that you could create scenarios or do it on your own. You're user testing with somebody, just who isn't shopping, who's not in home building. You're a family of 4. You're moving from Florida to Texas. Here's your budget. Find a home that fits your life. And you're like, and here's your time frames. Like real scenario. You need to move into a home by March. Good luck. And you're like, well, this one says this, but this one says move-in ready, but there's renderings. That doesn't seem, I don't know. Like, I was to a competitor. They got all real photos, et cetera. Then you start to see like where people pick up on cues. We're like, well, I'm not sure I believe that. Then over the course of time, they're like, oh, well, I'll reach out to this builder first. Here's my second runner up, but like this one looks like they're ready to go.
Yeah. Like I don't want to work harder on your website to, but I know some builders are like, oh, well, it's because we want
what's included. Not included.
Yeah, but I think that's a great point right there, Jackie. Like when they're like, well, if they get confused, they'll reach out. And it's like, well, then that's not a real lead. They're calling because they're confused and they can't find the information, and you're relying on their desire to actually call. And let's be honest, do you want to call?
No.
Like, no.
Eventually you get desperate, but like you don't really want to.
Yeah. And and no one's like, no one's in a state of desperation right now, aside from the people trying to sell homes, So
That's
like
very true. Very true. Even as rates are actively falling, I'd imagine when this comes out, they're still kind of going down slowly. Hopefully they don't go down too slowly. But like there might be, it'll be interesting if that really influences the new home selling season start like right after Christmas. We'll see.
Yeah. And as you're doing that, look for the inconsistencies in your messaging. We just did this with a builder this week, where they had different messaging on their available homes. And some of them had dates, some of them didn't. Some of them said move-in ready with a rendering, to your point. And then some of them had a home that looked like it was finished, but it said under construction. And it wasn't an example image. It was the actual image of the home. So, then it was then it didn't have a date on it. And it was all very inconsistent. And that's where people get confused, and they're just like, and then be careful with your ghost listings too. If your ghost listings are live on Zillow, that can cause a ton of confusion. because you have a ghost listing that's been active for 400 days, and then you have a real listing that's been active for 100 days, and they look the same. It just, people are recognizing who's building those and putting them out there. It's not a good look.
Yeah, ghosts are scary. Not good. No good. We don't want any ghosts. So let's see my story. So I'm trying to decide if I got bamboozled or if it was like the best sales pitch that I've had. So we're in Florida.
Both.
Solar, both. Maybe it's both. Solar is like extremely popular to sell because it tends to work for us compared to, say, Washington. In our neighborhood in particular, we have no trees. It's a new community. So like our trees are beneath the height of the homes, et cetera, et cetera. We use, so our personal situation, this is where it's interesting. I've looked at solar twice before this. So 3 times, run numbers in Excel, do all these projections. I'm like, if we need to change our insurance and like it really doesn't make sense, et cetera, et cetera. So, but that was like over the course of 4 years ago, then 2 years ago. Power costs have gone up, right? So in our energy use is higher. So I have to give all the context. We use a lot of energy. It's not going to change. I'm home all day. Our AC doesn't get a break. We're here in Tampa, Florida, close to the water. It's hot year round. Like we might have the heat on like January, February, just to make sure it's like 70 instead of, I don't know, 68, like very minimal use. So there's not much of a break in power. So I have like the history of like, here's our power, what we spend per year. And if you think about it, it's actually depressing. So this was the sales pitch was, instead of focusing on the cost of the system, which is there, focus on, okay, you're going to spend X on your energy over the, say, next 10 years. Right. So that's kind of, it's not debt because it's not a loan or it's not a negative balance, but it's a future liability. Like you have to pay that, right? No matter what, we need power. So I'm like, 10 times 8 on average, that's 80 grand if it doesn't go up. So it's going to increase. And then I'm like, well, the solar system is this, it locks in the cost. Okay. Then we save power. I could then be less frugal with our power. Like, yeah, let's bump the air down. Everyone's coming over Friday. Let's bump the thing to 72. It's going to get warm, et cetera, et cetera. We have a hot tub out back. We could heat it more often. All these things. I'm like, okay. Then we get a cool tax credit of like credit, not a deduction. So big fat credit because the system that we could put on our house, all the stuff. So I'm like, okay. But what tipped me over was like, you're going to spend the money either way was what the person sold me on. I'm like, interesting. It was just a shift of perspective instead of like, oh my gosh, this is kind of expensive. It's like, well, you're already spending something that's expensive. You just aren't seeing it at one time. So it's almost like renting versus buying.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So that was I'm like, like if you're going to rent for the next 5 years or 8 years, so let's just do 5. No, let's do 3. If you're going to rent for 3 years to try to save up your down payment. Well, what are you renting at? Let's say it's, I don't know. I'll do 2,000 because that's easy math. Although no one's probably renting much around 2,000, depending on where you live, I guess. So 12 times 2, that's 2,400. It goes up X each per year. So you got 24, 24, 24. You're like, ooh, well, what's the math on that? 24 times 3, 72K. Like you're going to spend $72,000 no matter what. So then so interesting. I'm like, so you're losing 72, 100%. You're losing that money. Or you could buy a home. Yeah, interest rates aren't great, but if you could afford it. So you have to keep in mind, if you could afford it, if you could qualify, like, well, let's make, instead of losing 72, you could lose, I don't know, 40. That sounds better. Or whatever number it may be. So like either way, you're going to be spending the money was essentially what the pitch was. Like you could either pay Duke Energy or you could buy the system and it's on your home. It's an investment potentially, depending on how you look at it. I'm like, I got bamboozled. So long story short, we're getting solar.
You got math.
I got math, but for us, it's because we use so much power and we face south, we face north. Like we're putting 50 panels on a roof. Like it's gonna be insane. Like so it'll work for us. So we're gonna be like a little power grid over here at the Peaks house. I'm like, man, that was interesting. It was just perspective.
Do you save money if you bundle with some neighbors?
We're like the fourth on the street to
okay. I was going to say, I wonder if you're going to be like, hey, now it's like word of mouth marketing. Like, hey, I know we've all been talking about this and some people have been considering it. And I think sometimes like you need to be reassured by people, too. So I think that also goes to home building where it's like, if someone has bought a new construction house, they're like, oh, well, here's what went right. Here's what went wrong. And like, here's why we made that decision. And I think that's extremely valuable. So yeah, I wonder if everyone in your block is going to get it now.
We'll see. We're all the same height and all that stuff. So we'll find out. Well, let's move on to the news. This first one is from martech.org. Google will start, where to go? Google will start phasing out third-party cookies in the next few weeks with a new feature. So we don't really use third-party cookies that much. This is mostly if you're using like Kenchu or some other strange tracking system that we don't do because it's very expensive. But they're taking it and they're going to take 1% of Chrome users and just delete it. You won't be able to use those third-party cookies. You won't know who it is. Like no one's going to know who these people are. So they're restricting it. I think it's going to just keep getting worse and worse. Fortunately, we won't really be too affected. Did y'all see anything else from this? It's kind of a nerdy,
I think it just
nerdy thing.
I think it restarts these conversations I have over and over again where builders are getting just more particular about protecting their buyers and making sure that they know what's valuable on their own website. So I know it started in the West Coast, but it's kind of filtering into the rest of the country where a lot of builders I'm seeing utilize portals more, like log in to save your homes. And they're having a lot of considerations of how do we just harness that user data for good and make it as most beneficial for us in marketing to learn from as well. So if you're not considering that, just something just to keep in the back of your mind too for the year. And in case you're asked about, and the reason the article's in here, right, is in case you're asked about this or how it impacts you as a builder, is just good to know. So any insights, Beth?
No, I was excited to just hear what Andrew had to say, if there was any impact in terms of ads. I think that's what a lot of people would want to know.
And we're
in regards to targeting.
Yeah, I think we're lucky in home building, lucky and unlucky. We just don't have, we're not having 10,000 transactions a day.
Yeah.
Or even 100 transactions per day. Most of us are not having that lead volume. So the amount of data we can collect is already limited anyways. Compared to imagine if you are Rocket Mortgage, how much data you could collect and what you can do to influence every little step along the way, just because you have it all at your fingertips. With us, it's we have 300 sales per year, which is amazing, or 50 sales, also amazing. But you're oh, we have 2,500 leads to deal with the entire year, 1,500. That's not that much relative to other people who, e-com, we had 4.5 million add to carts last month or something like that. Oh, okay. They can do a lot more with that than we can. Yeah. So on to the next one from TechCrunch, Google playing games with us. So Google's best Gemini demo was faked. First, I missed this demo because there's so much stuff going on. I just didn't see it. So I had to watch this beforehand. I'm okay, this is interesting. So the AI detects what's happening on camera. So here's a duck. The duck is this. Which way should the duck go? Towards I forgot the animal. Should it go towards the other ducks or get eaten over here? I'm playing rock, paper, scissors. So you're oh, this is interesting. It's detecting what's happening, except part of it was faked.
Most of it, the whole thing was basically fake because apparently behind the scenes is that there was still images and text prompts being prompted to Gemini to make the response. It actually wasn't recorded in real time, watching the gestures and the movements. And so the whole thing was essentially fake. And then the responses were shortened and the prompts were left off. And I think the really fun part of this, and Kevin wrote an article back in June or July about how there's still a lot of learning that has to be done in AI. And then when AI kind of hit the scene hard and fast earlier in the year, Twitter was bombarded with, here are your AI prompts. Here are learn how to use AI. Yeah. And this is what made me think of it, because humans have to adapt and we're able to learn faster than the AI in some regard. We're catching on a little bit faster just organically as humans. And the computer has to take the time to learn like a human. And so it's using the static images and the prompts, but the prompts have to be written in a very particular way. And they have to, it even showed here's a picture of me putting my hand out flat as paper. And the response was different. And then it was, here's my hand as a paper, here's it as a rock, here's it as scissors, all together. I am playing a game. What is it? And so
it is a game. A search. Yeah. So I don't think we have to worry about AI taking over our lives yet.
No, it's still too stupid.
No, it's still too stupid. It's too dumb. But come on, Google, you could do better. But I feel like this is more and more common. Things aren't necessarily what the headlines lead us to believe.
And I think
Yeah.
it's a reminder that as like from the builder side, because I even just got the question last week of like AI, how should I be using it? What should I be
Mhm.
using it for? What are the opportunities? And it's a reminder that the AI that is present in our life that is still very useful is already in action in many ways, like through ads. Andrew, I know you can speak to that. But also you can use it as a tool. Like it's not meant to replace anything that we're doing yet, especially on the builder, the human to human side of our transaction. It's not ready to replace anything that we're doing.
Yeah.
Even the writing, like
Oh,
it's
geez.
everyone knows when
I
something's written by AI.
Oh gosh.
I almost feel like
Yeah.
we're playing defense with how we have to perceive things. And
Mhm.
so
Agree.
for example, one thing I can see is like, oh, okay, a couple years down the line, like how does AI work with home builders? I'd be really worried as a person shopping for a new home if I'm looking at pictures of a house and I'm like, but is that the picture of the
Yeah.
house? Like, oh, it's the floor plan, but is my house
Yeah,
going to look like this? Like, what? It's not HGTV where they're like, oh, we're going to do a side by side comparison. It looks exactly the same. I think people are almost being trained to be more hesitant for trusting these
Yeah.
predictions because there's, like Instagram versus reality. Andrew, you know what I'm talking
Mhm.
about, where there's
Yeah.
what you actually see and what you get. And so, and when it comes to home building and that, I would just hope no builder like leans all into AI renderings of their houses and doesn't do the proper homework to have accuracy with the information that goes out. So, and that's kind of what they did. They're like, oh, we'll push it live at 80%. And it's like, well, I think we need
We.
a little, we need a little more accuracy here.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think, Jackie, one of the underlying messages you just said is that real will always win.
Yeah.
for sure.
Well,
It's real.
that's the
Tangible.
home builders with the design centers. We're seeing a lot of people ramp up design center appointments to try and re-engage maybe leads who are on the fence to make them touch and feel the product and just have that. It's like your house might be under construction, but this is what it's going to feel like. And this is what it's going to look like. And you can feel confident in what you're going to get because you can see it.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Agreed. Yeah, well, I had someone, quick little story on AI. I had two people as part of applying for the jobs we have open. They use Chat GPT. I had like questions that are like, on a scale of 1 to 10, like really quantifiable questions. And I had some that were like qualitative, like what would the perfect workday look like for you? Kind of get like a gauge of the personality. There's technically no right or wrong answer, but there are like good answers and terrible answers and bad answers. Well, if you throw that into Chat GPT, I'm applying for a marketing position at a da 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 da. I need to describe what my perfect workday would look like. And it was like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna read it because I don't want to spend more time on it. But I'm like, how do you even put this in here? Like it was way too much. Adjective, 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 buzzwords, just like you said, Jackie. Like, oh
Buzzwords.
my gosh. Like, get out of here. So
Yeah.
no, that's
And
not a
and
perfect
so
workday.
exactly. Your authentic self,
Yeah.
your authenticity is gone. We
Yeah.
don't trust it. We don't trust
There
you.
should be some selfishness in there. I was hoping for that. Like my perfect workday, I would get up early, I would do this, I'd be able to get lunch, do this. But I'm also doing that like, okay, it's an honest answer is really all I was looking for. So last one up is from businessinsider.com. Realtors face billions in damages for overcharging home buyers and sellers. That's a strong title right there. I think it's officially the future of home buying is here and it's going to be a whole lot better. So both of those. What do we feel about this? We've been talking about this for a while. This
Yeah.
just feels more like mainstream expose on this whole thing and presented very approachable. I've talked personally, like in real life, about this with people, and it takes them a bit to like, so what's happening? Like, what? That's whatever.
Yes.
$1 billion. That seems a little excessive. I'm like, well, here's why. I'm like, oh, you know what? You're right. Then I always ask, like, what would you pay a realtor to help you buy a home? And then what if you did not win the bid on that home and you had to do it again? Like, would that change it? Because you have to be aware, like, hey, if you don't get the first home, you're paying per hour, you're paying per whatever. Like,
Andrew, did you see that video that was like the gentleman taking recording and he's like, yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot. And everyone's been asking me, right? The Instagram story.
Yeah.
They're like, everyone's been asking me, why should a real estate agent justify what they're charging? And it's because the real estate agent should live in the community. They're
yeah.
selling.
I think
And it's
yeah.
like,
You're like, what? No.
like, not that they bring value, not that it's a, once every statistically, 12-year purchase,
They have
not
to know
a
the
guy,
area or
educated guy,
something.
know that. I was just like, oh, because they should all also, if they sell expensive homes, they should also charge more so that they can live next to you.
Like,
Like,
it was I need to post it up. He
so
has terrible content all over the place. Like,
totally. Yeah. But I think why I'm saying that too is because one of the quotes in this article says there are going to be real estate agents who are not able to articulate, let alone demonstrate their value.
Yeah.
Those folks will quickly
Mhm.
be be out of business very quickly. And that's exactly, I was like, you almost like put a dent in the opinion of real estate agents with your video. Cause
Yeah,
I feel like there was
it's
just
terrible.
no logical elements to what you're saying. Like you have to show value. You have to show an understanding. And if you work with builders, you have to show a value of your relationship. And like we were saying, Beth, have builders speak. You can speak builder and you can translate it back to the buyer and understand the processes and explain the processes. So we'll see. Might
Yeah.
cut some
This
people.
I
agree.
think this article does a really great job of outlining what is realistically happening and potential solutions as to like what could happen in the future as a result of what's happening now. But my favorite thing is the very first line. Things are not okay in realtor land.
Things are not okay.
This author is my kind of author. Like I love
Yeah.
them.
James
Um,
Rodriguez,
what
you
I
did
think
great
is
with it.
really interesting is when they're outlining the different solutions. And Jackie, to what you said about it weeding out the people that are not providing the proper value for people to be
Mhm.
willing to pay for their services, and the different tiered values that
Yeah.
he proposed, which I think is interesting. But
You're so
when
nice.
I have talked to, I think it's
It's
interesting.
interesting. It's to
I
note.
have strong opinions
It's
about
terrible,
that.
but it's interesting.
Um, but what I think is interesting is that I've had conversations with realtors, and for a lot of, and I'm talking like great realtors that have consistent business and do a lot in their local area and have like a good following, right?
Right. Can I add a
This isn't
caveat to
even
that?
on their radar.
Which is
This
crazy.
is
So
not on the
they have a great
It's
business because of the current model of commissions, right?
Exactly.
So
Mhm.
if it changes to like, I think that's that they need to cut to the chase and like, you're going to have to pay for your buyer representation out
Yeah.
of pocket. I am very against it being able to be rolled into a mortgage. I think that is terrible because
Yeah.
it's just like insurance. It's like healthcare
Yeah.
costs. Like if you don't see it, if you don't see, like it's going to be excessive. It doesn't fix anything. It really won't.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be like, so I paid this person 10 grand to help me buy a home. I found it on Zillow. Of course, I'm like leaning to like really make a
Mhm.
point. I found it on Zillow. I sent
Yep.
it to them. I told them my availability. I had to change my availability to accommodate their availability. Okay, because I really wanted the home, like whatever. Then I had the inspector. I had title, escrow, like all these other people to make sure it's a safe transaction. And the realtor was just
There.
the person that was there. Like, I'm really sure. Like, maybe they help negotiate. Like, here's better to negotiate it. But then I pay them $5,000 out of pocket. Like, I don't have $5,000 out of pocket, or that $5,000 for the down payment. Ooh, like, what can I pay the person now? They
Mhm.
work for 4 hours. Are they
Yeah.
worth five, whatever it is, five something an hour?
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, that seems excessive. But right now, you don't see the cost. So that's like they have a great revenue stream from the commissions. So I'm not anti-realtor, but the setup, I'm very much like agree with it for sure. But it's a
I
tough
like
one. I
the
don't know what the right answer
way
is.
he compared it to a lawyer, because
Yeah.
you pay different fees for different types of lawyers. You pay different fees for different reputation of
Mhm.
lawyers. If you have a lawyer who is a litigator by nature, who can
Yeah.
sit there and argue and negotiate and has a reputation of winning, you're going to be willing to pay more for that lawyer or their area of expertise. And
Yeah.
I think that mindset of a real estate agent should be an expert, and whether
Mhm.
they're an expert in negotiation, an expert in closing, an expert in new construction, you should pay a fee based off that expertise. And if they aren't an expert in something, then guess what? They're not going to get paid well.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Like it's
Agreed.
ship up or ship out.
Boom. Done.
And
yeah,
I think
I like that
agents,
example.
I mean, there's some things I feel like everyone knows the perpetual person who's moving. And I would say my parents are guilty of that for about 15 years. They've gone, it's the year. This is the year we're moving. I'm like,
Like, sure.
is it? Yep. We got boxes. I'm like, do you?
Like, wow, good for you
And
guys.
so and they've toured with agents. They're just addicted to touring homes, I feel is the actual response. So I'm sure they owe
That's
some real
hilarious.
estate agents some money in the long
Yeah,
run.
it's
But
definitely going to change. What'll be interesting is how it changes with home builders. I'm sure I won't say what percent, but I could imagine it's a moderate percentage of buyers that bring a buyer's agent, the realtor, to the home builder just because, like, maybe the person helped them sell their house, or they're like, they have a realtor friend, they're like, hey, let me be part of it. Like, I get a percent, whatever. They're getting the work for free. And here's the home builder, like, here's $5,000, here's whatever the number is. It's like, well, that will kind of like go away. The standard practice will be the buyer's paying the buyer's agent, nothing from the home builder. That'd be interesting how that changes just the, what percentage of people are working with a realtor buying from a home builder.
So I used to sell with my previous builder. I spent a year selling.
You loved it.
I did. I actually did love it.
For a year. You loved it.
I sold 49 homes, or I closed 49 homes.
Someone's going to try to get you right now. They're poach.
They're going to poach me for selling.
Not for sale.
But I can't tell you how many realtors I interacted with that I saw at contract and never spoke to again.
Yep.
And they were getting paid more than me based off of commission rates, et cetera. And it's interesting because on the builder side of things, we have cut like over the past year or two, there have been cuts on internal sales teams, commissions. They have restructured commission rates, things like that. And they're quick to move agents in and out, or, salespeople, whatever, in and out of their own teams. They invest a lot in training, and you have to learn it. Especially recently, there's been a lot of conversations recently about holding salespeople's feet to the fire, about getting creative and learning how to negotiate and learning how to overcome objections. And it's interesting how standout salespeople on the builder side do well in comparison to those that just kind of, order take. And I think we're going to see more of the kill or be killed scenario in the real world.
I agree.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It'll be fun next couple of years. Not for them, but for us.
There will definitely be change.
I'll bring my popcorn again.
There you go. Yeah. Popcorn. Bring the popcorn. Bring it all out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to our current favorites and or what you hate. I have nothing for this week. My brain's not in a favorite or hate mood. So
what about, you just wrapped up. What number Academy was that?
Oh, geez. Yeah, the Academy was great. You think I would know? 8, 9? Yeah. I'd say 9. 9 sounds good. They're a fun group. So there's my favorite. Y'all have been my favorite group this year. I love the other groups. I hope you're not listening, because you're also my favorite. It's like picking what's your favorite kid? But it's, we change it almost every time. We tweak the Academy every time. The next one is going to be a bit different. Hopefully more time for more content, but just more to help it work with your work day more. Like usually done 4 days in a row. I'm like, maybe we could adjust this a little bit so it's not as like you're taking a vacation, you're not taking a vacation, because that work is still there before the Academy and after the Academy. It's a pretty stressful week.
Yeah.
For those people that can do that. So let's make it easier on everyone. Is the goal. So we're still working on that, but early April is the next Academy date. We don't have it locked down yet, but early April.
Yeah.
So
people are already asking.
I know they are. I'm like, I don't know when spring break is. I need to look at the calendar, like all this stuff. We try to make sure it's not, because everyone's across the US, like we have earlier spring break down here in Florida, then it kind of just goes up that way. So we'll make sure it's not covering anyone's spring break. And also internally, it can't be like on my spring break because I won't be here. So there's that. Beth, how about you? Favorite? Hates?
My favorite is our creative services division here.
Oh, that's precious. Yeah. That's so,
I know.
So precious.
It's just really fun because, they made that reel.
Okay.
Of summarizing the work that they've done this year. And it was, as they called it, the warm-up year. And It's a team of 3, Carla, Amy, and Jade. And they have crushed it. Not only are they doing all the things that they're doing on their side for their builder partners, but they're also doing the internal Do You Convert graphics design, et cetera, and some additional work on our end for our builder partners. But it's just really remarkable because I know I had this moment with Carla that I was talking to her about how her and her team have really changed the game in design for home builders, because they are executing a high quality product with our industry in mind, which is already rare, and at a really affordable cost, because it's smart design at an affordable, like just without the a lot of the pressure of investing in it. Because, you know, you can
Beautiful.
get, it can be very expensive. Design can be very, very expensive.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
I think the bigger part too, talking to Carla, is like the people who there's people who will try outsourcing, but our industry is so unique. And just
yes.
Carla
Yeah.
was in it, just like
Mhm.
all of us. So
For sure.
And she
Definitely.
understands what always stood out to me, like when I started working with her on the builder side, when she was on her own, was that she understands that the need for things to be easy for the marketer, right? Like owning your own
Agreed.
design files and easily and learning how to tweak them a little bit, or, you know, getting the templated email in a system that you can easily update that'll speak to another one. Like it's the additional aspect of like, oh, this is not intimidating for me as a marketer to be able to take and push out on my own as well. And I think that part was life-changing for me personally, especially as it pertained to signs. Whew.
yeah.
So there you go. That's
So
a good
kudos,
favorite.
team.
No bias there. There's no bias.
Zero,
Not
zero
whatsoever.
bias.
I like how mine's like not work related. Like,
There you
and
go.
I'm usually the biggest
Yeah.
culprit for work related stories. I like actually had to cut some out for today. My favorite is I joined the YMCA and I get the song now. Like I get it. And it's funny because, you know, I moved into my house. I didn't have kids yet. And then I had kids and I was like, okay, now I have two littles and I want to go to the gym. The YMCA will watch your kids for you while you work out up to 2 hours and up to in one time and then up to 4 hours a day. So I feel like it's giving me my freedom back. But to rewind about now my house, it's like my neighborhood and where I live is more valuable to me because of it. I'm at my house at a different like point of my life, and my neighborhood can give me more things. So it wasn't a factor when I was there, but you know, we talk about builders putting a bunch of stuff on the website like, oh, and it's near this. It's because it might not be important to you now, but it is, or everyone, but it is important to someone at some point. So because another builder was like, make sure to put the YMCA for her project in Louisiana. I was like, oh yeah, that is very important for people
So
with little children.
let's bamboozle this with math. So potentially 4 hours per day.
Yeah.
And how much is it per month, if you don't mind me asking? I'm sure it's
too
YMCA.
much.
Too
But
much.
it's the gym.
Okay, I'm gonna say it's.
Let's
I'll do
say
it
$200. No,
I'm gonna say $300. I know it's not $300.
$300.
300. So what we got? 4 times.
I think it's
30.
175 a month actually.
Okay, there we go. So we have 120 hours potentially per month.
Yeah.
Watching. What, $1 something per hour? Babysitter. Boom.
Daycare.
Done. Daycare. Done. You
Exactly.
could go on dates there. You could like go get like a
They have a
shake
coffee
and have a little
machine.
date with your hubby. Like perfect.
I've gone there, dropped off my kid, and I've just written before. Like it is just a nice, like I know
You hide in the corner, take a nap.
with people at the gym. I would do that.
Jackie's
That's
here
what
again
I would
for
do.
a nap.
Yeah, I think it's just also, you know, there's different priorities at different parts of your life. And I know I want to get certain things done. And so but I also want my kids to have a great experience. And so leaning on my neighborhood and people I trust, and now I get to know them because on my leave, I went there every other day. It was crazy.
Good.
So that's a fun story. And if anyone's listening to this and they're like, I have never checked out my YMCA, you get a free week pass. Go check it out.
There you go.
And you will not be paying as much as me because Seattle is silly.
We have the
Now I have the YMCA song stuck in my head because
Mhm.
we're like, I get the song.
We just send ours out front.
Podcast with a dance.
There you
Jen's good.
This has to fit in the box.
I hope that makes the recording.
That's all I want. YMCA. We do the whole free range chicken strategy of there's like everyone has Ring cameras on their neighborhood. It's gated.
Mine are still too little.
Just send them out front. Like they're fine. Like everyone's getting notifications for next. But right now, this is like there's like 20 kids outside right now, so it's a little different setup. But with the gate, like they're locked in, and there's a fence around the whole community. So really, like they're locking us in from the rest of the world. Not the rest of the world is away from us. Like they're like other crazy.
And that's why you have to deep dive into why a house is important for each person.
Okay.
Kevin today was talking about, you know, one big thing to reemphasize is individual homes are for individual people. And all I could think about was that Coca-Cola ad that says the can says Jackie, and how people will search for their names. Like the people want to identify with certain places. And obviously if they find a house, it's like, this is solving some problems for me. So yours is gated community, mine is community.
There we go.
And so anyway, well,
Lucky.
when you think of your house,
we're paying for that gate. That's all we
you
got.
guys are Coke
HVAC.
can.
Well, let's knock out this question of the week super fast. I'm not going to add any comment to it because I will just keep talking. So the question is, hello, our company has asked that OSC develop a strategy/follow-up process for targeting our current homeowners who are 3 to 5 years into owning their home. So they purchased a home from the builder and now they've owned it for 3 to 5 years.
Mhm.
Cool. Statistics say in their area that on average people spend 3 to 5 years in their home before looking for another. I feel like that might be a little shorter.
Yeah.
Especially with rates right now. Is anyone doing any follow-up process with these types of leads? If so, what are you doing? So they're looking for, they purchased a home from us 3 to 5 years ago. What can we do to re-engage those leads to be like, hey, we got cooler new homes for you now? What do we do?
I think the
Or not
key
to.
is to never stop engaging them.
Okay.
Mhm.
Like,
So what would that look
and
like?
Julie mentioned this about like what their team used to do at Ideal. I think it was Julie, but basically just just like from a marketing perspective, the best people to market your home are the homeowners that are the happy homeowners. That's why we do testimonials, right? And word of mouth. There's a lot of builders that we work with that built their
Good.
reputation on their reputation. Like they
Good or bad? I don't know if you meant it that way, but like good or bad
that's true. It
reputation.
could be
like-
good or bad. But the point is that you should never stop engaging. Like you should be sending out newsletters that are also like being sent to homeowners so they know. So even if they're not looking to buy, their friends or their family members might be looking to buy. And if they're really happy, they're going to tell them about the new neighborhood down the road that's coming for their friend that's looking for a new home. And if they are ready to move, they're going to add themselves to the list and say, hey, I would love another home built by
whomever.
whatever builder.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
Russell
I
Homes.
think it goes along with I think it was Jessie told the story of it was years after she bought her car, she got a notification from a car company. It's like you can't just surprise people like, oh, we have your contact information. It's like actually my Opal camera just started emailing me after like having it for 2 years. I'm like, what? I should have been on your dripping email system, like unsubscribe. But that I also don't think it should be the work of the OSC, and there should there's a give and take of your time. So it shouldn't be a real process. It can kind of, you're saying, Beth, be this long drip marketing campaign of, hey, we have these new homes in this new community. If you or another person is looking for it, like now you re-engage, but the expectation of that as it's like a very strong strategy is, I think, almost going to be a lost effort. And it should just be like a long-term campaign.
Agreed. I guess I can't help myself. I will add something. So our personal experience, we built with a builder. If you listen to other podcast episodes, you probably know who it is. Going off the referral thing. So as far as they're trying to re-engage buyers from years past. So you could still call that a referral, even though I'm referring myself. Like will you be a repeat customer? Is essentially a question. So that's still in the referral category. So with our street, our side of the neighborhood, if you built with said builder, on average, you had a negative experience. So gone. Doesn't matter what you do. Let's send some cool emails. Let's try to convince them the interest rates aren't bad relative to when they purchased 3 to 5 years ago. We were all like 4.5 or lower. So now they're 6.5 or higher and higher price point. So that's a difficult sell. So you'd probably, as far as this goes, you really need to lean on equity with that. But as far as working with that builder, like with our experience with working with this builder, like, ooh, probably not likely they would purchase again from said builder just because of the experience. So like, I think that's something to consider. Like, hey, can we have repeat buyers? Well, what was their customer experience like before you even talk to them?
Yeah.
It's like you went on one date with them. Essentially, it was a okay to negative date. They didn't want to go on a second one again. Like, why would they? Like, it's just, to me, it's pretty simple. But I think that with this in particular challenge is the rates now versus 3 to 5 years ago. Like, how do you, because they might be able to afford a home that is smaller than their current home.
Yeah. I mean, and in saying that, there has to be a life reason as to why they want to move out of their current home, right?
Yeah. But death, divorce, diapers, diamonds, displacement.
Yep.
One of those. I think it's that 5Ds. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that is it for this week. I don't have to say the outro, but if we want to put this in here, that's a lot of fun. Go on DYC All Access. Beth has some fun announcements coming up sometime. Coming
It'll
soon.
be out by the time this podcast is
As
released.
soon as she knows, you'll know. Sounds good.
Have a good new year, everyone.
All right.